right, the Monday edition of the Weightlifting Scoop. We have the Sheriff on.
Yes, sirree.
Kaleb Whitby. So we had a lot of requests to get you on the show, so I'm happy that you were able to get on.
Well, anything to help the fans, right?
Is this the first time you've been on the Weightlifting Scoop?
This is the first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just kind of been hiding in the background.
So we got Glenn and Don McCauley as well.
But we're always here, so that's something special.
We're like dust on the table.
Yeah.
So we're really here to hear from Kaleb. But first,
No pressure, Kaleb.
We will talk a little bit with Don about the seminar this weekend. They had a seminar at CrossFit East Decatur and in Atlanta, and they walked into the wrong gym.
Yep. Went into Decatur instead of East Decatur, which was a nice gym too. Happened to be one of the owners was there, had a couple of people they were working with, and Sean and I walked in and walked into, hey, you're Don McCauley. Hey, you're Sean Rigsby. Yeah, Sean was about 5 inches bigger all weekend after that. He felt really good about that. I told him it's just the power of the internet.
Yeah, the power of the internet.
Unbelievable.
Now, the question is, who was giving the directions? Who made the mistake?
I did. Oh, no, I take that. No.
That would be Don.
That would be me. No, well, I could blame the woman in the phone, but I just picked the wrong name of the wrong gym.
Well, where are you?
And they were right down the street. So
were you on time to the seminar after that debacle?
Oh, no, that was actually the night before. So we were just going over to check things out. Oh, hey, I didn't say the planning was bad.
Originally, when you told me that story, I definitely thought it was going to be more exciting. Like,
it's not that exciting.
You guys were late. You were running to the other gym.
And Sean and I were running to the other.
So that would have been exciting.
That would have been exciting because I'd have had to been brought to the hospital.
Oh, man.
Oh, we did have. I gotta say, we gotta give props to Chris Kojak for the hotel choice.
He does a good job.
He does a good job, and we got into a hotel down there at Doubletree. Very nice. Oh, that's right. Always go to Doubletree. I'm propping them because when you go in there and get a room, they give you a cookie.
Really?
They give you a warm cookie, a chocolate
chip. Is it a good
chip
cookie? Well, chocolate chip.
It's an excellent cookie. It's warm
that's
chocolate
awesome.
chip macadamia cookie.
Oh,
right
macadamia
away,
nuts.
they'd won the weekend. We didn't even get to the room. We liked it.
Yeah, last time me and James went down there with Glenn, and we stayed at that same hotel. It was a pretty good cookie, and the breakfast is pretty good.
I don't remember the cookie. I feel cheated.
Now, did you go to the restaurant that was next door, Marlowe's Tavern?
Well, the one that's kind of like up on the ceiling.
Up on
I did not go there, but I'm from Atlanta, so I know
it was very nice.
Area.
It was a good time, and like I say, there was a cookie. I mean, come on.
I heard you guys. Well, I didn't hear this, but I saw it on Facebook.
Uh-oh.
You were posting something about chocolate stout and burgers.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. These are the important things you have to do when you go to clinics. We ate at a place after the clinic. The name of the place was Farm Burger. I have to not use my New England talk.
Yeah,
FARM Burger.
To say R.
And it's grass-fed beef and all that stuff, and they make special burgers.
Right,
and they had a little drink. They called it an adult float. It was a chocolate stout with vanilla ice cream in it. So I felt it was my duty to try one.
Yeah, that sounds good.
People might not know what that tastes like. Yes, I would give it my approval. It was also very good.
Coke float, but better.
Coke float, yeah.
Coke float with a buzz.
Stick with the original root beer float.
You just do that.
Yeah, I will.
Well, so speaking of, we're about to get the sheriff fired up because he has he grew up on a farm, right?
Oh yeah, born and raised.
And grass-fed.
So I mean, you know a fair amount about cows and bulls and how all this stuff works.
A fair amount.
So what's the deal with grass-fed beef?
Grass-fed has everything to do with what they're eating, and so you are what you eat, and literally cattle are what they eat. So if they spend the majority of their lives on grass, it's going to result in a different type of, I guess not a different type of beef, but a different makeup of beef. And so the big deal is between grain-fed and grass-fed obviously is a little bit better because of the omega 6 or omega-3?
Omega-3.
Omega-3.
It's the ratio
has
in
less
that.
omega-6s,
Yeah, it's the omega-3 ratio in there. So, and it's the thing is I grew up. I mean, like as far as we're always grass-fed, it's just kind of the natural way, and so we grew up with that taste. And so if you're not used to a taste, it's a little bit different, but it's definitely some good stuff.
So you're saying there is a difference?
There is a difference.
Okay.
Yeah. So for example, if you have, you've got grass-fed all the way, is going to taste a certain way. Then they have those who are grain finished. So those who are going to be, grass-fed in the pasture their whole lives, and then when they when they're ready to be slaughtered, they spend, I don't know, about 3 months, 60 to 90 days in the feedlot, and that's where they kind of finish them off on grain, which adds a little bit more marbling to the meat. And then they have the other extreme of, which never really happens, but when weaning comes at about 6 months, they'll go straight to the feedlot, and then for another 6 months to 8 months, they'll spend that time on grain, and that's where you get the majority of your marbling or the classic grain-fed beef, where it's a lot more fat in it.
Now, when it comes to like the proportion of omega-3 to omega-6, how much does like the final finishing off affect that?
I wish I could tell you, but personally, I don't know that off the hand, but based on research that I've read and looked at, I mean, even 30 days on grain seems to affect that ratio. So, but some people will not go, I mean, they've got to have that grain finished taste, and it does taste good, and some won't even go close to it. So
I'll tell you what, as far as I'm concerned, the grass-fed is just obviously better. Cleaner
better for you, obviously.
Cleaner, but it tastes cleaner to me. Yeah. I felt like
I have no problem with grain-fed
taste.
It's
great.
You have no problem with food.
Well,
really, period.
Well,
really.
Tom was saying that you thought that the grass-fed was a marketing thing. So did he misunderstand?
No, I mean, to maybe to a certain point he did, because that is definitely a marketing. I mean, it's a line. Oh, our beef is grass-fed. There's no hormones. There's this, and that, and I don't exactly know what the requirements are to be considered grass-fed. Whether it's just you say it, or if there has to be a certain amount of requirements as to how much they're finished on grass or not, but. A lot of farmers, what they'll do is they'll grass feed their cattle until about 30 to 60 or even 90 days out, and then when they send them to the feedlot to be fattened up and slaughtered, it's 30 to 60 days on grain, and then then they're at the slaughterhouse, and that's just kind of to finish the product off.
Yeah, just kind of fatten them up and
so.
Yeah.
But then there are definitely some farmers who will do it on a smaller scale, who it's straight grass and hay until they're slaughtered. And
I've found some beef from around here. It was a farm that specializes in grass-fed beef. And we drove up there. It's about 40 miles away. We drove up there and got, a couple of, truckloads, I guess. I would say truckload. It wasn't that much. It was maybe 40 pounds or 50 pounds, maybe a little more. Put it in the back of the truck and brought it back. And after eating that, I could say that certain cuts and certain things, I definitely noticed a huge difference in the taste. And there are other things that I really didn't notice that much of a difference. But I assume this stuff was grain finished and just, grass fed up till a certain time before. But some things like the short ribs, there's a huge difference, a huge taste difference between, and there's other things that, there wasn't that much of a taste difference. I think that the fattier cuts, I noticed more of a difference. Yeah. And the leaner cuts, like say sirloin or something, there wasn't that much of a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
Well, I mean, so most grass-fed beef is it's not as fatty because, just especially with ground beef, most of it's like 90-10.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with the other thing that a lot of people don't talk about, and I don't know if they don't know about it or if they just don't talk about it because it's not that big of a deal, but breeds have a huge deal to do with all of it. Mm-hmm. They have certified Angus beef, and Angus cattle are known to carry more fat. So when they go to a feedlot and they put on fat, it's all in their stomach, and they've got some fatty carcasses. Mm-hmm. Now you get different breeds that carry hardly any fat, like a Limousin or Piedmontese, where you could put them out on grain for their whole life and they won't put on any fat, and it just has everything to do with their genetics. Now, when it comes to that, you can affect the ratios that way in regards to omega-3s and 6s, but I mean they could still be grain fed,
but it may not necessarily be fattier.
Yeah.
Well, crazy.
For your money, what is the best cut of beef? Like, what would you most like to have a good, say sirloin?
I'm a ribeye guy.
Ribeye.
I am a ribeye guy, and
so I assume you like more fatty meat.
see, I would say in between in there, because our ribeyes growing up weren't all that fatty, but yet they were tender, which is kind of weird for people to hear. But we used to be able to cut our beef with a fork. I mean, it wasn't just like butter soft, but we were able to cut it with a fork because it was that soft and that tender, yet really tasty. So,
well, some restaurants, I mean, what the hell is the deal with Texas Roadhouse? Because they have, their sirloins are the best steak in the house.
yeah.
They're tender as can be. And I've usually, some other cut is better than that for a steak.
Yeah.
But for Texas Roadhouse, they've got cooking sirloin down to a science.
And that could be it. Just figuring out how to, cause there is a science to cooking it. Cause you cook it just too hot or just too, cold, or if it's too long or too short. I mean, it's got to be cooked just right. And they probably do have it down to a science. So,
okay.
But I don't know that for sure. I mean, this is all speculation.
There's a steak for everybody.
There sure is.
So a different subject.
Wait a minute. I know if I want to go way out on a limb, I will guarantee that the Weightlifting Scoop is the only weightlifting podcast in the world that has this conversation on it ever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that
we're the only ones with, Kaleb Whitby.
I don't know if that's going to help anybody's reps and sets, but.
So from the sheriff's mouth, give us the scoop on cows.
The scoop on cows.
So there's
beef is good.
Beef is good.
Go to your local farmer. If you got a local farm in the area, go to him. They're gonna get you what you want, and they're gonna have some good customer service for that.
And you were helping us out with the terminology the other day. So
a cow is a mother.
Okay.
Or cattle is I guess what would you say, the plural of cows. You have bulls, which are dads. Steers are castrated bulls.
Okay.
Heifers are they haven't had calves yet. So they would be teenage girls, I guess you could say, if you were to compare it to that. And that's,
they could be older, but they just weren't attractive enough for the bulls to go after.
I don't think that's the case. But that's what it breaks down to.
They could be in their 20s.
They could be in their 20s.
If we're talking months, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, so that's the scoop on cows and bulls and whatnot.
There you go.
So we've had Complex Cruelty Month, and we were talking about the title belt last time on last Wednesday's show. And since we had a little in-gym meet on Saturday, we weren't able to do a show on Friday because, we didn't train Friday afternoon. We were getting ready for Saturday. But Kaleb is the title belt holder for the past 2 weeks. How does that feel?
That is right. 2-time running champion.
Wow.
I'll hold on to it as long as I can.
Kaleb he's been on a rampage in training, he's being a little humble right now, but I mean, you did some pretty big things in the past couple of weeks. So with that complex, tell us about it.
So the three, we'll call it the triple complex, or what do we want to call it?
3 cleans, 3 front squats, and 3 jerks.
Yeah. And so I was telling Don about this, and Tom and I lift on the same platform as of recent, and getting ready for that complex is like getting ready to jump off a cliff into some water. I mean, I was getting dry mouth. I was getting nervous. Didn't know what it was going to feel like because, weightlifters are used to a couple of reps.
Well, and to be fair, there had been a few casualties on the complex
I know.
previously.
I mean, watching James attempt, he attempted 50 , right?
150 he attempted for that complex. Yeah. He missed the last jerk.
I know.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's just a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
And then he tried it again and it put him on his tail.
Yeah.
And then Sean, I think he literally passed out. His face was red.
Yeah.
On the video, I put up a video of that day. On the video, it was like a PR triple and a clean.
Yeah.
For him. But I was like, man, this is a joke. He's just got front squats and jerks left, which, if you know Sean, that's his
easy.
thing.
Yeah.
But after that PR triple, he just like literally passed out.
He was telling me in the car this weekend on the way back, I think, from the clinic. He said, I knew I was in trouble on the first front squat.
Oh, no.
I started not to feel my legs.
Yeah.
So how it worked is we were going off percentage of your 1 rep max.
Yeah.
And Becca and I were the only ones who had put up
a total
numbers so far. So I put up a 152, which was a lot harder than I expected, but I was just trying to get in the game because people were missing. And Becca had kind of killed it, and she had gotten it up to like 84.8% or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then Kaleb.
See, that's the thing that was scary because we didn't see her do her first one, and so she kind of snuck out there and put a huge percentage up, and all of a sudden our numbers had to go way up.
Yeah.
And so, I was thinking, Tom was thinking, doing the 50s, and I was thinking maybe in the 60s. And then all of a sudden she made her second one, which put it at 84.9%, I think it was.
Yes, it
was.
And so I had to find 85%. And I thought I was going to be, all tough and do 165. I kind of like the 5, the even numbers.
Yeah.
So I get doing it, and I missed the first jerk. Got through everything and missed the first jerk at 165. And so I thought, crap, that was it.
At this point, I thought Kaleb was out, because I had seen James kind of do the same thing. And then when he tried it the second time, there was nothing left.
Yeah.
So I was like, Caleb's going to try it again, but there's no way because I've just seen people try this twice. But then.
Yeah, I waited a good 5-10 minutes, got my energy back, and took a little bit slower, didn't rush through the clean so much, and luckily I was able to stick the jerks and get right underneath them because that would have been the one place to miss. I mean, I can do the front squats and I can do the cleans, but the jerks.
Yeah.
That was a
3 jerks, you got to lower it down. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not easy. So if you guys want to try that complex out there, Kaleb did it with 85% of his 1 rep max, which I find pretty incredible, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I did like 77 or 78% of my 1 rep max, and it was very tough. So I didn't have too much more left. But yeah, now.
Yeah, so that was the first week. I mean, well, I guess that was the second week of complexes. The first complexes we did was the Travis Cooper complex, which I don't know why that ever came out. I mean, anyways, again, I thought I was going to do it pretty good, so I actually jumped from 120 to 170 and just went for it, and ended up missing the last 2 jerks from behind the neck because after doing those 5 squats, I couldn't even feel my arms. So
yeah, because the tendency is to squeeze the bar when you're doing back squats. So the key is to relax the arms and shoulders when you're doing the back squats.
Yeah, that's for sure.
The thing about complexes out there, here's what I was going to say and forgot a second ago, is a lot of people like to pull the bar as hard as they can on every rep. The key to being good at a complex is to use as little energy as possible on each rep. So a lot of people come out really hot. They're pulling on that first clean like it's a max, waste all their energy. So if you're doing these complexes, you kind of got to pace it. You got to use as little energy on the pulls as possible. And go from there. But Kaleb definitely did a good job. He did 164 kilos. So A, that's a huge number. B, it's a huge percentage. So,
well, you should definitely apologize to humanity for the Cooper complex because
I think
seen many people, try those over the last few weeks. That's just heinous. I mean, that's just cruelty.
It is not. It's not nice.
Well, that's the point. Complex cruelty.
Complex cruelty.
It's not.
It's true.
It's not. Hey, I'm
not complex kindness month. It's not that. It's not that. No.
Yeah. But I have apologized for that, and I hope somebody out there couldn't walk the next day after they did it. It makes you stronger. You got to get strong out there.
Those complexes will make you mentally tough.
But then we had an in-gym meet, and we had kind of some mixed results just because, we did compete a couple weeks ago, so obviously everyone isn't going to do awesome. But somebody who did do awesome is the sheriff right here, and he had all PRs, so I was extremely happy to see that. And tell us a little bit about that day.
The weird thing about it is that the training was not for maxing. I mean, we were doing triples and complex doubles. And so, our training was not at all keyed to that. I think the only thing that kind of saved us was that Friday night that we were able to have off. But we came in Saturday morning ready to go, and we just kind of went for it. The weird thing, my snatches have felt good. So I was able to hit 142, which was 1 more kilo than I hit at the Arnold. And the nice thing about it is I haven't hit that number in quite a while, so it's good to kind of get back with my technique and my rhythm to actually get those numbers.
So you have been working on your snatch technique a lot. So
a lot,
you did change some things. So, when you change some major things, you're going to go backwards before you go forward. So, it's finally showing that he's made changes for the better. And he's making those weights in the 40s consistently again.
Yeah. So that was definitely a plus, and
that kind of sets you up for the clean and jerk in a contest too.
Yeah.
Your 195,
94, I think.
Was a 94 was a good lift. It was
Yeah.
an impressive lift. But then you did 204 and cleaned it?
Yeah. So I cleaned my 200, which sometimes there are certain numbers in weightlifting that'll just, they're a mountain or a big wall. And and once you get over that, it's, I wouldn't say smooth sailing, but other numbers start to fall a little bit easier.
Right.
And 200 in a clean, but granted, I didn't jerk it yet, but 200 clean from the floor for me has been in the works for years. I remember one of our first in-gym tryouts attempting it 5 times, but not even
pretty
never
close.
making it.
Touching your chest most times that you've tried it.
Yeah.
You probably tried that weight 15 times over the past year and a half.
I would say more. It's like
well, I remember.
plus.
I think I'll go over this a little bit for guys out there too. Is that we made a decision back at the Arnold for you to go out there and try the 200.
Yeah.
Basically to get on stage and try 200, and although you missed it at the Arnold, just barely.
Yeah.
You came back not really disappointed and saying, I missed it on technique. I didn't get my feet back down right. And kind of looked at it that way. And that to me means this guy's looking at 200 a different way. It's not the number and it's not the weight anymore. He knows that it can be done if the technique is right.
Yeah.
And sure enough, next time you faced it, you make it.
It was on the first try. It wasn't the easiest. I had to double pump it a little bit, but I got it. And the reason I went 204, it's kind of a random number. For me to make A team would have required a 346 total, and so the 142 plus the 204 would have made that. So that's kind of why I attempted 204. And on the first try, I missed it. One, because of technique. I just got a little anxious on it. But the second time, I finally got it to my shoulders and got it up off the floor.
So as far as a clean, what was your PR clean from the floor before that?
195.
195. So, we're talking about a 9-kilo PR in one day. Basically, just getting over the mental roadblock of 200.
200,
and then finally got over it. And I think that's like an awesome thing to learn because, sometimes people get stuck on one number. And then, so if you're stuck at 200, put 201 on the bar and try it sometimes. Occasionally that kind of thing works.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's worked for you, Travis, in the past several times. You're infamous for missing something 3 or 4 times and then putting an extra kilo or 2 on the bar and finally making it.
Yeah. That definitely happens on occasion.
This isn't something that happens every other week.
No.
Yeah.
Although in your case right now.
Right now.
Yeah, it is.
How many thousands of reps have we done?
I don't know.
And another thing, too.
At least 1,000.
At least 1,000.
Like Caleb's saying,
he
hit this weight from the blocks. As a matter of fact, I think at one time you had hit 210 from the high block.
It was 205 that I did.
205.
Yeah. So, that's been a year and a half.
Well, the blocks, the blocks can be funny. The blocks, when you're coming from the blocks, you're getting by that big part of getting by your knees from the floor.
Yeah.
And, boy, you get it in your wheelhouse. And guys can do stuff from blocks, unless they have that contest sometime, though. You got to do it from the floor.
But it is a sport that takes a long time.
Oh,
Caleb pulled that to his chest. First time maybe 2 years ago, and just finally it came around. So be diligent out there. It's not something that happens overnight, especially as you're approaching the bigger weights in your weight class. Be patient with it. Eventually it'll fall. You keep pushing yourself, you keep trying that weight, eventually you're going to beat it. So Caleb, you come from a very big family.
Yeah, I do actually. I'm the oldest of 9.
Oldest of 9, wow.
Yeah, and so that's one of the reasons why it was a little bit easier to be out on the farm. We had a lot of space to run around and get out of the house. So yeah. I think we lived.
I bet you were a terror to your younger brothers.
Wait a minute. Are you the oldest brother or a middle or?
I'm the oldest.
Oh, you were an
I
awful.
have 2 sisters and 6 brothers.
This was bad.
Yeah,
this was bad out on the farm.
So Yeah, I had a lot of stuff to do. So, I mean, we only had, I think our house was like 1,400 square feet. I mean, it was
That's
old,
not a big house.
Old barracks. And I mean,
definitely not for 12.
For 12.
Yeah, for 11 of us.
11,
we spent a lot of time outside doing chores and playing around.
And did you have dogs and animals as well?
When we were growing up, we had quite a few dogs. I mean, eventually on the farm, it's a little bit more tricky because there's machinery going around everywhere.
Yeah.
There's ditches, and so they kind of started to
Disappear.
fade away a little bit.
Let's not get into that.
Well, one thing that I think a lot of people out there can learn from you is time management. And you have a little boy. You're married. So you're a family man, and you came from a background of being a family man. Obviously, you came from a huge family. So you got 2 dogs, a little boy and a wife, and how do you manage everything? I know a lot of people out there have asked me questions, about time management, and they have kids and work and whatnot.
Yeah, it really kind of comes down to priorities, and my family is definitely a very high priority on my list. And the other thing is that when having a son, the last thing I really would like to see is my wife out, having to go to work, because one, it's hard for her to be away from Mason, my son, and just things are able to kind of go a lot better. And so I personally I feel like I'm able to take on more of a role of a provider and work longer and harder, as opposed to having her, go out of the house and pay for somebody else to come in and do that. And so it's hard because we don't see each other very much. I mean, when we do, it's usually at nights, and there are quite a few nights where I'll, see Mason before I go to work, and he's asleep, and I'll come home and he's asleep. But I mean, it's at a time in his life, luckily, where he's young and won't quite remember it. But the time that I do have with him is definitely special. So we try and make the most of that.
And now I remember we used to live in the same apartment complex. So you're kind of like, you guys bought a dog and moved here, and Camille was pregnant.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of like always on a schedule. You wake up early, you take your dog for a walk. So what's the typical day like for you?
I mean, in the morning, I wouldn't say we're up too early. I mean, we're up at 7, and we'll take the dogs, on a 30 to 45-minute walk, or on those days that we're really tired, we'll just go play with them out back. But we'll do that, and I'm here in the morning at 8 o'clock, and from 8 o'clock until, depending on the day, until 4:30 or 5:30 or even 6 o'clock, where I'm here. And then there's stuff I do outside of here, and that takes quite a bit of time, and sometimes it's not even until close to 11 or midnight that I get home on some days. So it's hard, and eventually it'll end, and we'll be able to kind of enjoy life in a different time. But for now, it's what we need to do to kind of to get by and to have the life that we want.
Oh yeah, I mean, daycare is not cheap, and that's not always the best option. So
No, a lot of times especially if you have 2 kids, but if you have even 1 kid and daycare, I don't really remember. My mother was a babysitter when I grew up, and we lived on a farm, but she was always the one that was babysitting for other kids.
Yeah.
We had anywhere from 6 to 9 or something. They didn't really have the rules now the rules back then they have now.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to sit for 12 kids, I think you could.
Yeah.
So I grew up with my mother always being home, babysitting for other kids. And that was a good way to get by for us. We needed the money. We did not grow up, with a silver spoon in our mouth or anything like that.
Yeah.
But having my mom be able to be home and provide care for us and still earn an income was basically the only way around, or the only way to make ends meet. And we did it, and, had fun doing it. I feel like I always had, more little brothers around the house and everything like that.
Yeah.
Always was around a lot of kids, and so it was a good thing. But if you actually hired a babysitter to come in the home, especially for freaking 12 kids, or whatever, there's no way you could make that much money to even pay the babysitter bills.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a hard deal.
When, so, I mean, a couple of things. So obviously you're working and you have a family. So, you and Don have made some adjustments on the programming, particularly like your max out day is earlier in the week, sometimes.
Yeah. And so prior to the part of the Arnold, we definitely made that switch because our volume and intensity changed a little bit. We were starting to taper, and some days you just don't feel like doing it. I mean, some days are hard, and you just really have to grind through. And so we got to the point where Friday afternoon was our 9th session.
Yeah.
Our eighth session. That's a lot of sessions. And so
a lot of sessions and a lot of work. And
so to expect to max out after, that many sessions and after, 40 plus 50 hours of work, it's hard. And so we made the switch to Wednesday afternoon. So it's about half the workload. And I've always felt a little bit more fresh on Wednesdays. So for about a month, I think we did, a Wednesday max out day prior to the Arnold. And I felt like it worked very well. In fact, I hit a couple of PRs and a couple of numbers that I hadn't hit previously because of that.
Yeah, and I thought, I thought it really did work out well. And you certainly at the Arnold, numbers aside even, just looked fresher.
Yeah, consistency.
Just looked like you really had a lot of energy there.
So do you feel like that's something you're going to stick with going forward?
I mean, we haven't done that since we've gotten back to from the Arnold, just because the training's been a little bit different. But as stuff gets a little bit heavier and stuff gets a little bit more intense, we'll go back to that. So
definitely in some situations when you talk about programming, you can't just copy and paste it from one person to another. You kind of have to look at your own situation. And, for Kaleb, like he doesn't feel fresh on Fridays. So, sometimes we make that adjustment. And I think it's a good takeaway for a lot of people out there, Sometimes people try to copy the programming that we have, but they have a lot of other responsibilities. And, there's definitely been times where you and Tom only train once a day after a big meet. And
sometimes that's the case. Yeah.
It's kind of Tom gets beat up because he's super, so he recovers a little slower. And then given Kaleb's work schedule, and I mean he is a 105 as well, so it's not the same as like Mike at 69 kilos.
Yeah.
Things take a little longer, so we definitely make adjustments for the individual people.
If only everybody could recover like Mike.
I know.
He like a friggin' Energizer bunny, isn't he?
He gets us on those rampages where he comes in the locker room and he's jumping up and down. He's like, I'm ready to max.
Mike can definitely handle a lot of heavy lifts. So
yeah, we did a little kind of an experimental training program a while back where he was maxing out multiple times per day. I wouldn't like to say not all out maxes, but definitely handling like 90% or 90% plus several times per day for a period of several weeks. And, whereas even Travis kind of definitely, I think, felt that it was wearing him down a little. And other people thought that, when does this end? Yeah. I remember Chris Goot did that.
Yeah.
And like he started missing, when he started missing, the missing wasn't going to stop. He just got more fatigued and more fatigued and more fatigued. And Mike just, powered through it, pretty much hit all of his weights and first try pretty much. And, like it was his job, I mean, if everybody could do that, the world would be a better place.
When we were doing that program, I felt like it was the easiest for me to get through that day. But then the 4 days after we did it it took a lot more out of me than it did Mike. But that was fun. I would like to try it now that I have a little less life stress. It'd be interesting to see the difference. So there was definitely a lot of things going on that were stressing me out at the time. So it wasn't the best timing to try that for myself. But I like the idea of it. I do.
That's what's hard about planning training is that there are so many interrelated factors. And you talking about, life stress that you've had and things like that and how that relates to how hard the training was when we were doing that sort of training. I mean, at a different month and a different activities outside the gym and different stress level, you could definitely be surprised. It could be a whole different experience.
Yeah.
Good.
Especially when you're talking about the extremes like that. I mean, that was obviously a pretty extreme program, so you definitely want to minimize stress outside of it.
And that's something maybe we can quick touch on, but, because some people maybe really aren't as aware as most of the guys at this level are, but, you get any program. I don't care what training program you have. There's no program, that should be just, followed absolutely. And there's no program that ever is. I don't care whose program it is. No program is ever followed absolutely. You always make variations. Heck, I read up programs weeks in advance, but I'm usually changing things on the board here in the day because I didn't like the way some guys looked, or I just changed my mind. I just didn't quite like the rep scheme, or it looks like guys are working a little bit much. Kaleb changes a day. This guy, James, doesn't do blocks. He does hangs. There's always changes. So programs are programs and whatever, but they all have to be a little flexible.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta make adjustments when it's necessary.
Speaking about adjustments.
Yeah,
we all gotta move over now.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna get to training soon. Now, how old is your little boy, Caleb?
He is 13 months, going on 14 months.
Wow, he's already over a year. I actually didn't know that.
Yeah, he's walking, and man, he's walking fast. It's good. It's a fun time. It
changes so fast about that time.
Yeah.
Because I remember when my son and daughter were that age, and you just turn around and they've totally changed who they are. You know, they've changed what their capabilities are and everything.
Have we got Mason under contract yet? Here at Muscle
Not yet.
I think something could be written down quickly. I
something
think
needs to be.
I'm going to take a shot at that.
He's got a lot of work ahead.
I think
we'll let him. We'll let him grow.
Let him grow a little.
Yeah.
He's already a big boy.
He is.
I've seen this child.
He's in his 90th, 99th percentile.
I bet he is.
So, but I think he's one of those that, he was born at 9 pounds, 5 ounces and 22 inches.
Wait a minute. What? Is he grass-fed? That boy is big. 9 pounds.
Yeah.
9 pounds.
I was 11 pounds and 22 inches long. So
what the hell?
I was over 10 pounds as a baby.
Yeah. So he's got the genetics for it. We'll see.
I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know why I'm here.
So
I'm like a regular human being, and
yeah. Well, I was a pretty big kid too. Of course, I'm still fairly
big kid. Yeah, still fairly big.
But
yeah,
smaller now than I used to be, but still not exactly normal sized.
So
my son's a big kid too.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, your son has grown a lot. He was here. William was here a couple weeks ago. Well, last week actually.
Yeah,
and he's like almost 6 foot now.
He's not quite 6 foot. He's like 5 foot. He's like closing in on 5'8", like 5'7 3/4" or something like that.
Looks like 6 feet to you.
But he wears size 12 shoes.
Oh,
you know,
he does.
He's only
far away. I was like, he's tall.
He's only 12, and he's got size 11s on, and there's no doubt he's going to be bigger than average because he's bigger than I was at that age. Yeah. I'll put it that way. He's much bigger than I was at that age, so I expect him to be a large individual.
We want to keep plugging
probably
this.
Super heavy.
Keep plugging this meet we're having May 3rd.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we do have the meet
That's
May
an
3rd.
absolute date now. We got that down.
Yeah, I heard this morning that we're already filling up.
I would bet that.
If you're thinking about attending this meet, this might be the time to get your entry form in.
Yeah, that's
because
for sure.
I heard that there are already a couple of sessions that they have put people on a waiting list.
Is that right?
So not every session.
No.
I mean, there's still slots available, but I don't remember if it was a men or women or whatever. But there are obviously going to be several different
sessions.
Yeah, sessions. Thank you for thinking that word for me.
And
there are going to be several different sessions, but already at least a couple of sessions are either very full or maybe even on a waiting list.
And we do know we've got people coming from California. We've got people coming from Canada. We've got people coming from Florida, I believe.
A couple from
already.
Canada, 1 or 2 from Florida.
Yeah.
Couple from California. So we're going to have people from
very
all
diverse
over.
crowd of weightlifters from all over. So.
And by all means, if you're not going to lift too, come up and see us.
Come watch.
Come
and there's a
watch.
fair
We'll
amount
have
of
fun.
women I think have already signed up. I think maybe
we got a
12
good women's
girls,
crew coming in.
and something like 40 guys have already signed
40
up.
guys.
So
Is that right?
It should be a big meet.
I know we had a couple of guys at this clinic that wanted to come. They may have signed up already.
Yeah,
I
maybe
told
they did.
one kid he should come. A kid down in Albany, Georgia. Real good looking lifter. Real good looking.
So this morning, breaking news. Glenn and Don were squatting together.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were
setting records.
We were putting up the big numbers.
No, I made a post-stroke PR.
A PSPR?
Yeah, PSPR. Wait for it now. 52 kilos for a set of 5.
Oh, I killed you.
Which, you actually did, Don actually did more than that. Maybe the first time in history Don has out-squatted me.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. We don't know this.
Don did tie your 52, but once he got to 75, he wasn't quite breaking parallel.
Wait, whoa.
Yeah. No, I was definitely below parallel.
That's not fair. That's not fair because that is my low position.
No, I was definitely
low as I get.
Below parallel. But it's funny that the hardest thing is, the balance is still kind of a problem. The hardest thing about it was balancing not necessarily forward and back, but side to side, which is really weird because any normal human shouldn't really have any trouble balancing side to side. Your problem is going to be going forward or, lose your balance backwards. Yeah. But I was having some trouble balancing side to side and whatever. Of course, with a couple of reps, that went away and it wasn't actually muscularly hard. But, I felt happy to have actually done it, because there was a time.
Let it be added here that I think both of us, I don't know whether you were, but I was doing sets of 10.
Well, screw you, Don. I was only doing sets of 5. Okay. Now you've opened a can of worms here.
Or it could have been that it took me 10 times to get back up all the way. I'm not sure.
You've opened the can of worms here because I can guarantee you next time we squat, I'm going to do a set of 10.
There you go. Well, it's on now. It's on.
I will tell you that I did some pulls with fat grips.
Wait a minute.
Which
pulls.
Makes it a normal grip for you. Well, Travis was doing some pulls. He was working on his grip with fat like gripper things that fit over the bar so that it's more difficult to grip. Mm-hmm. And I succeeded in gripping 75 kilos.
It was just 70. It was with a snatch grip. We were just kind of messing around with it.
Not trying to exaggerate here, but it was 70 kilos for a couple of reps.
Don't try to intimidate me. Pendlay.
Yeah, it's coming around. Well, I thought it was cool. It was funny because we were all kind of squatting, and then over in the corner, Glenn and Don kind of just threw on a little.
We didn't even get in workout clothes yet, boy. Wait until that happens, man.
No, I still have my cargo shorts on.
I got my jeans on.
Don had jeans on, so we can forgive him a little bit for that depth. But no, actually, the crazy thing about Glenn is he can actually get really low in a squat.
He's very flexible.
Yeah, you wouldn't think, but even with how heavy I used to be, I've always been flexible.
Yeah,
I am not
able to touch your butt to the floor with a certain amount of weight. So
I think I can get lower than Rigsby, though.
So. Yeah,
I think I can outdo him.
All right, well,
Sean Rigsby is not what you call a flexible human being.
No.
He's strong, but not flexible.
He's got some pretty good shoulder.
Well, when the weight surpasses 600 pounds on the squat, the dude gets pretty low.
He
got extremely
pounds.
low.
Yeah,
it was a great, deep squat.
Yeah, it takes
that
much weight.
He can squat, but
that's what I always counted on when I was actually training. Was I'll get below parallel when the weight gets heavy enough. The hell.
No, we did have a couple of questions. So I posted a squat program about 9 weeks ago on the Weightlifting Scoop website. A lot of people followed it. Congratulations on all the PRs if you made one. People were asking me where to go from here. For now, I'd recommend taking a couple weeks and just squatting once a week. Just kind of like, don't squat so often right now. Just kind of relax a little bit. And then you can either do the program over or find another program like the Russian squat program there's tons of squat programs out there. So, I couldn't even begin to tell you all of them. And I will hopefully post a second squat cycle that you can follow in a few weeks. And I guess that's about it for today. We haven't come up with anything for complex cruelty on Friday yet. So
No, I don't. I think we're practically at the end of this month, and I think I don't know whether we'll
have one last hurrah.
One last hurrah. We'll come up with something.
We've got to keep passing this. Even if it's not a complex, we'll keep passing the title belt.
We'll come up with
Caleb,
something.
Caleb, how hard are you going to fight for that title belt?
Hey, it's going to stay in my hands. Wow! As long as I have any power to keep it, I'll keep it.
Wow. Caleb's been training like an animal for sure. You guys got anything else before we head off to training?
Not really.
I got nothing.
No.
It's been fun. Been fun, guys.
All right, well, Sheriff, thanks for being on the show, and we will see you guys on Friday, hopefully.